Howdy folks, and welcome back to another BrickGrid Beginner's Blender tutorial. Today we're going to be carrying on making a cover, doing our UV mapping, using some images to make our book look a little bit nicer. Now I've got my book selected, and if I just go into the UV editor and I go to edit mode, I'll just make that a little bit bigger so you can see what we're doing. If I select everything, you can see that this is the current layout that we've got for the book. So, and if you look at the top here, you can see I've got my little double arrow selected, which keeps whatever I select in the 3D window in sync with what's happening in the UV editor and vice versa. Now you can see, if I highlight this part of the cover, you can see that that's our front cover, the spine on the left, that's our back cover, and then we've got pages at the top here and here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So basically that is our current layout. Now you can save this layout, and I'll show you how to do that now, because we may get to use this in another program like Inkscape or GIMP or Photoshop or whatever to make our book cover. And to save it, you would go up to, you make sure it's selected, make sure your object's selected. You'd go up to UV, and then if you have a look under here, you can see that there's nothing. Yep, there we go, export UV layout. You can see it's down the bottom. So if I selected that, I'm saving that to my desktop, so I'm just going to call it book underscore cover underscore layout. And you can set the the size, etc. We'll just keep it as it is there. And just say export UV layout. And if I just minimize my Blender window for a second, and I'll go into GIMP. So we just wait for that to load. So let's see if we can open that file. And it's on the desktop, book cover layout, that's the one. So hopefully you can see that. So you should have something like that, and then when we actually start working with it, which we will do a little bit later, you can add layers, or new images, kind of compose things together, and this gives you a nice guide for your layout. Right, let's not do that right now though, because what I want to do is I want to show you that if you just kind of remember roughly what this layout looks like at the moment, I've actually done a couple of book covers which I did in Blender. So let's open a new file. I'm not going to save that. I think I'm going to open book 3 blend. There we go. Whoops, got a camera in that one. Let me just pull that out and turn my screencast keys back on so that you can see what I'm doing. better. And we'll just switch this to the UV window. And if we go into, if we select our object and go into edit mode, select it all. Now you can see that I've kind of subtly changed the layout from the layout that we had previously. What I've done is let me just see if I can get rid of, not that one, that one. What I've done is I found a book jacket cover, just images on the internet, and because I didn't necessarily need to put a kind of image on the pages, all I did was load in the image and then just resize the front and the spine and the back on the UVs, just to kind of make the layout correct. And then if I deselect everything, if it'll let me, and do a box select, this funny little box here, that essentially is, okay, let's do that. I don't know if I can show you very easily, but yeah, this little square is in fact all the kind of edges and the inside of the book jacket cover. So they were all the kind of faces that weren't just the front, the spine and the back, if that makes sense. So I've just kind of grouped them together there because it's a nice plain part of the cover. So let's have a look at another one. So if I open another one, so we won't save that, let's have a look at this one. And basically I've done the same thing to this one as well. Let me just put my screencast keys back on. So this is another book cover that I've just found online by googling for book jacket templates or images, and you can see that somewhat mistakenly I've got the pages textured as well. Well, what we can do, if we don't want them to be textured like that, is if I deselect everything, let's just try using the L key. So that has just selected all the page edges. I think you can see them there. So I can scale those down. I'm going to be scaling to my cursor, my 2D cursor. You can just see it in the bottom left hand corner there. So we can scale that right down. There it goes. Oops, don't want to go down too far. A little bit more. And then we can move it onto a blank area. Something like that. And if we, whoops, didn't mean to select the cursor. So let's see if we can select the cover. And as you can see with this image, all I did was loaded the image in up here. So you can just click on this one once you've loaded the image in. But to actually load the image in, let's see if I can show you how to do that. Ordinarily you just press the cross to get rid of it, then you'd go to open and you'd find your book cover. Let's see if I can book screeny. I don't know what those are actually. I think I've got my covers somewhere. Book cover layout? No, that's one I just saved, isn't it? Maybe it's in my downloads. Book jacket PNG, that sounds like one. So you just open that image. So this is another image I've got, and then at the top you just make sure you've got it selected, and in order for this to work, we would need to go into our shader. So if I change to my shaders here, shader editor, I would just need to choose a new book jacket. There you can see that in the node editor, in the image bit of the node editor. And if we didn't want to do something with these, I guess we would go to the other material. Oh, there we go. So it's pretty straightforward. I will. I don't know if I really need to show you how to resize and move the UVs around. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, to select, for example, just this bit of the book jacket, you know, the front and back page and the spine, I'm going to undo the keeping in sync. You just hover your cursor over it and press L, and it should work. Should pick up. Let me select all of that to get all the faces. So you just put your cursor over part of the UV and press L, and then you should find that it will highlight all the linked, all the faces that belong to the same part of the UV map. Okay, so and likewise, you know, you can rotate them, you can scale them, you can move them. You could do it with that tool, for example, the move tool. Maybe you can see it moving there, or scaling. And you know, if you just wanted to move a single face, then you could, if I press A, just to get rid of that, you can click on a single face. I should be able to click on a single face. I think it's actually selecting all the things that are joined. Yeah, right. So that's kind of how to manipulate, how to arrange the layout for a UV map. You can see that I've shifted that up now, so I would need to shift that back down, something like that. But what I want to do now is, if I go back to that original UV layout that we saved, and I'll show you how we can use that to actually kind of design a cover rather than finding an image. So I'm just going to close Blender for a second. I'm going to say don't save that, and I'm actually going to use, let's go here, we'll go to Google, I'm just going to look for some images. Cityscape images. Just something pretty that I can... That one's quite nice. Will it let me... I think I've used that one before. A lot of times you'll find these images they need you to kind of you know, sign up or subscribe or whatever. So if I go for CC0, let's see if we can find something nice. That one's CC0. That one's CC0. Let's see if we can... Save the image. Save as city skyline. Okay. A WebP? I don't know quite what a WebP is, but it doesn't really matter. Let's see if it'll work. And you can, you know, we could combine multiple. Let's do another one as well. So we'll grab this one maybe, if it'll let us. Okay, that's a JPEG. So we'll just save that in my downloads. Okie dokie. So I'm going to go into, I'm going to use Inkscape for this, but you can use Photoshop or GIMP or whatever you like really. So I'm just going to set my document properties up. Oops, that's gone off the screen. Let me just see if I can find that. There we go. So I'm just going to set it up to be pixels and make it 1024 by 1024, which was the size of our show border shadow. I don't want that. Page border. Okay, so that's given us our square, isn't it? So if I load in, I import our book cover layout, and we just need to scale that. We need to put the, need to zero it out to the bottom, top right corner, and we need to set it to pixels, and we need to make it 1024 by 1024. Perfect. I could lock that object now. I can't be asked. It doesn't really matter. So now we can start importing some of our images that we found. Although I'm looking in my desktop, I need to look in my downloads. So let's try that one. I'll say OK. Looks pretty good. So we could scale that up, and we can do that just by dragging the corners. We could bring that image to the top, raise to top. There we go. So you've got a somewhat more of an idea of what that will look like. In fact, we might want to scale that down a little bit. Maybe more like that. Let's just zoom in on that so we can see what we're doing. I think we've got snap turned on here. So I could add some text to it. I mean, I'm not going to bore you with the details. What we do need to do though is we need to align that, and I can't remember how we do that at the moment. I would imagine we probably need to be on the text tool. See if we can do that. Let's make it bold. Let's align it center. Oh, let's Control Z that. That's not quite what I wanted. So we can just tweak that up. Maybe a bit too big. I'm going to duplicate that. Oh. Control D. And we'll put in make that a bit smaller. We can stick that down there. You can actually do some filter effects. You can make it negative. I believe. Or it will just crash. That's fine. Or alternatively we can just make it white. That looks better. And maybe we'll do something for this spine. So we can make that bold. We can set the fill. You can rotate it. Excuse me. So let's rotate that. You can see that I'm just holding down the Control key to constrain it. And we'll make that a little bit smaller. Pop that on there like that. And then maybe on the back you would have, you know, a picture of the author or whatever. We could add in a new picture, couldn't we? So we could go File, Import. Let's see if we can get this other image that we found. If we do it by J, maybe, was it that one? Can't find it now. maybe because it's got a different file name extension. We could just have a look. Don't know what some of these are. Oh look, there's a Harry Potter one. We could advertise Harry Potter. Maybe it's an advert for another book. So let's shrink that down. You put that down there, and then you do a load of blurb up here. Load of blurb. Right, there we go. We can do. I don't know if we can select all of that. Maybe make it a bit smaller. Maybe set the fill of that. So really we're just trying to give an impression of there being some substance to it. I mean you can really do whatever you fancy with your book cover. Maybe that text is a little bit big still at 20 point. Maybe we'll make it 16 point. And so maybe something like that. Just alter the anyway, so you get the general idea. Now what we would do is we can get rid of the template because we don't want to see that, but we do want to save this. So you could go, let's export it as a PNG image. So let's get rid of that bit. So we're exporting the page, and I'm going to export it in my downloads. I'm going to call it my holiday book jacket. See if that will work for us. My holiday book jacket page. Export. And then if we go back into Blender, which I think I've probably closed, so let's reopen Blender. Let's have a look at, I think it was number 3. No, it wasn't. My apologies. Let's find which one it was. Possibly number 2. Yeah, it was number 2. So if we go to the UV editor, what we want to do is we want to load in our new image. So we can just click on the little folder. We can go to, I think I put it in my downloads, my holiday book jacket, open the image. We can go back to our shader editor. We just need to find the new texture here. And if we select this bit, give that a different material. So essentially that's kind of how you would, when you can see there's a bit of an error on there because the edges are black. we could fix that by going into edit mode. We would just select this bit here, turn off sync rather, just select this bit here, maybe scale it down, maybe move it. And if we go back to object mode here, okay, that looks a little bit nicer. But you can see the general kind of process. It can be quite good fun. So I would ask you to have a go at that yourself. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but have a go at, you know, adding some images, saving it and importing it. And don't forget to go into your node editor to choose your new texture once you've loaded it into the UV editor. And what I'm going to do is, I just want a screenshot for of today's video. So I'm going to do print screen, and I'm just going to capture the window under my cursor and save it. And yeah, well, I hope you found that slightly interesting or slightly useful. And I'd like to thank you so much for taking your time out to watch and be interested, and hopefully to learn some Blendery type things. So please do like, subscribe, leave a comment in the channel. And take care, till next time. Bye for now.